Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War. Robert Ernest Alstrom, Dennis Lynn Aronson, Dale Robert Alcorn Jr., James Howard Anderson, Reed Carlton Arnold, Michael Terrence Badsing, Donald Lee Baker, Jesse Lee Barlow, James Eugene Barnhill, Frederick Harry Barrett, Dean Allen Bell, Harold Stanley Byrne, Gregory Lee Bomberry, Larry Daniel Boobar, Robert Edward Boone, Joseph Keith Bradley, Charles Eugene Brennan, Larry Eugene Brooks, Marshall Jason Brown, Norman Lee Bundy, Wendell Melvin Burns, Michael Thomas Burns, John Granville Call, William Canyon, John Thomas Kuroda, Manuel Grijalva Castillo, Robert O. Chambers, Paul Leslie Clark, George William Colina, Richard Wayne Crawford, John David Crisp III, Robert D. Kreider, Sam Trinidad Curiel, Lloyd Thomas Darling, Rodney Maxwell Davis, Edgar Sylvester Davis, Jeffrey Allen Davis, Benjamin Tally Dawkins, Samuel McCall Deichelman, Gerald Michael Duarte, William Nels Erling Jr., Robert David Evans, Jeffrey Allen Evans, Anthony Thomas Fields, Alan Russell Fishbach, William Richard France, Robert Allen Gamber, Lides J. Garner Jr., Merrill Thomas Garrity, George Aidan Gerald, Dennis Allen Getty, Stephen Lee Grant, Michael Lynn Griffith, Robert Brinley Griffiths, William Richard Gunther, Dale Allen Gunnell, Terrence Randall Hanson, Michael Owen Hardesty, Thomas Wyatt Harris, Eugene Winfield Hartman, Bobby Jean Haynes, Ned Arthur Heath, Jerry Hogue Heiser, James Vernon Hembry,
Donald Ray Henry, Patrick Heron, Donald Vol Hester Jr., Gary Edward Hibbard, Jerry Warner Hickerson, Alan Rolfe Hinspeter, Colin Keith Hipkins, James Cecil Holmes, Julius C. Holditch Jr., Douglas Arthur House, Joseph Sylvester Hume Jr., Ronald David Hutcherson, Richard Bernard Jackson, Arnold Noel Jaco, Gary Dwight Jeffries, Kenneth Bruce Jenkins, Joyful J. Jenkins, Gus Winslow Johnson Jr., Larry Allen Jones, Reginald Archie Jordan, Fred Kaimi Nawau Kama, John Franklin Kelly, John Paul Klabundi, Michael Carey Kolaroff, Joseph John Cull Jr., Robert Wayne LaFleur, Michael Luke Longario, David Brock Lefevre, Gregory A. Layton, Charles R. Lemming, Jimmy Davis Lemley, Lester Harold Leopold, Donald Frederick Lindland, Larry Allen Lindsay, Steve Allen Livengood, John Earl Logis, Ralph James Lund, Daniel Michael Lynch, Donald Brian Mansell, Ronnie Shinya Marshall, Lawrence Samuel Martin, Robert Mason, Michael Mackenzie May, Robert Stephen Macbeth, Bernard A. McDermott III, Samuel Russell McGee III, Charles Edward Miller, James Bernard Miller, Mac Paul Mohammed, Anthony John Montez, Charles Ray Moore, Billy Ray Moore, Cecil Roy Moorman, Alberto Hector Moran, Barry Russell Morey, Jesus Moreno Jr., Lauren Lee Morford, Herschel Eugene Morrow, Paul David Myers, George Alfred Nash, Jr., Jeffrey Woodrow Norvell, Samuel Arthur Oates, Jr., Jesus Ochoa, Gaiman Crandall Ogburn,
Ronnie Page, Ronald Allen Pattison, Edwin Allen Penn, James Thomas Pepper, Richard Eloy Perez, Denny Donald Peterson, Stanley Dennis Fromer, Walter Mack Phillips, Marlon Leroy Phillips, Ronald Gerard Pierce, Robert Lee Porter, Humphrey James Price, Louis H. Proudfoot III, John Edward Reed, Gunther Horst Reeling, Ronald Richard Reinke, Jerry Gordon Richard, David Horace Risher, David Rivera, Winston Terry Robinson, Jerry Charles Royal, Thomas Clyde Rush Jr., James Henry Rust, Robert Lee Sadler, Bradley Andrew St. Clair, Thomas Anthony Salvatore, Randolph Sampson, Wayne Jackson Sanders, Richard Michael Schwab, Edward William Seacrest, Leonard Selenikio, Richard Earl Serwanowski, Robert Earl Shields, Kirk Wayne Sims, Patrick Eugene Sinclair, J. D. Singleton, Norris Ray Smith, Thomas Paul Smith, Neil Arthur Smith, Thomas Solis, George Stephen Spake Jr., Dennis Arthur Spinelli, John Milton Spires, Roy Benjamin Squires, Floyd Laverne Still, Bartley Thomas Stokes III, Robert Wayne Swayford, Frank Levi Swinford III, Jerry Sylvia, Jerry Lee Thomas, Allison Lewis Thomas Jr., Michael Joseph Tomasek, Willie Lee Toney, Benjamin Richard Tunkel, Foster Joel G. Tudor Jr., Tommy Traxler Jr., Michael Jefferson Trusty, Gilbert Craig Turner Jr., Guillermo Bale, Wendell Glenn Vaughn, Ralph Paul Villegas, Robert Charles Wallace, Ruby Kenneth Walston, Donald Roland Ward, Willie James Washington, Pryor L. Wheat, Raymond Lawrence Welpley, Donnie Raymond White, Donald Melvin Wilbanks, William Lester Wilhelm, Rayner Edward Williams, Carol Edward Williams, Robert Glenn Willow, Stephen Wayne Wilson, John Wayne Woolbright, Gregory Lee Yeager, Stephen Walter Young.